Does the university do enough for students who say they're victims of sexual assault? Well, it depends on whom you ask, and it's becoming the latest controversy for the UNC administration. I'm Alex Giles.
And I'm Avery Harper. We have a series of stories tonight on sexual assaults. Students gathered in front of South Building today to protest UNC's sexual assault policies after filing an official complaint with the U.S. Department of Education, along with 4 others. Junior Andrea Pino and other students shared their personal stories and called for reform. Their list of demands includes administrative reviews of Vice Chancellor Winston Crisp, Dean of Students Jonathan Sauls, and Vice Chancellor and General Counsel Leslie Strom. Landon Gamble, now a sophomore, told her personal story and blamed the university for how it was handled.
I was raped numerous times by my boyfriend, and the university is aware of that, but he's still back on campus.
There have been charges and countercharges in recent days on this issue, and the university is striking back. At a Board of Trustees meeting, administrators denied fudging the number of sexual assaults reported, and they defended the school's policy on sexual assault. So what's this all about?
Andrea Pino is a junior political science and English major at UNC. Based on her transcript, she looks like she's had the standard college career, but she hasn't. Pino says she was raped last year at an off-campus party.
I never thought it would happen to me. So even though I knew all the signs and knew what it looked like, I never thought I would let that happen to myself.
Pino says she never reported her case. She believes she suffered a concussion and says she doesn't remember many details from the incident. She didn't report the incident to UNC officials either. She doesn't think it would have done any good. Now, she and 4 others are accusing the university of intimidating victims who report sexual assault.
Sassby North is the site of the Office of Dean of Students Jonathan Sauls. Andrea Pino told me Sauls is one of the administrators responsible for the faulty sexual assault policy. Sauls declined for an interview, but did release this statement.
We do take the issue of sexual assault seriously and have worked hard to respond to allegations of sexual misconduct with a process that is fair, effective, and provides appropriate support and due process to both the accuser and the accused. Pino disagrees. She says students at UNC who report sexual assaults are not treated fairly by the administration.
When reporting, they're heavily questioned and they're victim blamed and told, why didn't they leave before? Why were they drinking? Why did they know what was going on? Why didn't they say no? And there's always that heavy blame on survivors when reporting.
The group recently filed an official complaint about UNC's policies to the U.S. Department of Education. One member of the group is former Assistant Dean of Students Melinda Manning. In a statement, she told me, "My original plan was just to walk away and forget about everything that's happened, but I love Carolina too much to do that. I can't assume that someone else will fix these problems without my input."
This is an issue that needs to be addressed as a much bigger picture than just my story or the individual stories. It's the fact that all of us have been betrayed.
Betrayed or not, Pino says she loves UNC, but she thinks the university can do better.
Andrea Pino's official complaint to the Department of Education was leaked and published in a recent edition of the Daily Tar Heel. In a statement, Pino says the release of the information is potentially harmful to her case. As we mentioned, the UNC Board of Trustees says it takes the issue of sexual assault very seriously. Officials maintain that allegations of sexual assault cases being underreported are false. Still, some members of the faculty are reacting. School of Public Health Professor Trudy Bennett and other UNC faculty members are calling for the administration to acknowledge the complaint and review its policies. Assistant Dean of Students Melinda Manning alleging in this official complaint that the university was pressuring her to underreport the number of sexual assault cases. If that were to be the case, how would that make you feel?
If there is any pressure in any way to make the university look better, if that's in conflict with supporting and promoting the best interests in every way possible of the students, then that would be very disturbing.
Bennett and other faculty members want a committee formed to review the university's sexual assault policies as well as past cases.
Admit it, many of us have done it, but what you may not know is it could go to jail if you do. Fake IDs or using someone else's ID in bars, and local authorities tell me it's happening more and more.
Ben Weeks is a 21-year-old UNC senior from Greensboro. He enjoys going to the bars in Chapel Hill, but he'll tell you himself He went to some of the same bars when he was younger with a fake ID.
It's definitely awesome. It's kind of a thrill every time you try to go into a bar. Just a little rush there. Doing something a little illegal, you know, it's entertaining.
Jordan Joseph is a bouncer at Top of the Hill Brewery and Restaurant in Chapel Hill. He says he still sees fake IDs on any given weekend night.
Last night was Thursday night. I'd say roughly last night we got about 10, and that was a slow night. Saturday night we'll get in between there, about 10 to 20 of them.
Staff at Top of the Hill showed me a stack of confiscated fake ID cards, hundreds thick. They say over the last 2 years, they've seen an increase in people trying to come through this store with fake IDs.
Josh Misa-Moore is a sergeant for the Chapel Hill Police Department. He says the use of fake IDs in Chapel Hill has been consistent.
In the past year, we've arrested or cited 23 people for charges related to fake IDs. Compared to the previous year, it was 24.
Weeks says he used his fake ID roughly 30 times, but only at bars he was confident he could get into. He says his ID was a real one that was passed down to him.
Mine was Louisiana, which I thank God no one asked me anything about Louisiana, because that would have been a pretty obvious giveaway there.
Weeks never got his fake ID taken away.
And Sergeant Misa-Moore told us that depending on the circumstances, you are more likely to be charged with a felony if you try to pass off someone else's ID. If convicted, you could face 10 to 13 months of jail. If you're caught with a fake ID, you could be charged with a misdemeanor. That could mean community service or probation for up to 60 days.
It's probably happened to you. You're walking across campus minding your own business when a bicycle zips by, barely missing you. I met with one UNC sophomore who wasn't so lucky. She found herself in the hospital with 2 broken bones, requiring 2 surgeries. Katie Anderson is a sophomore biology major at UNC. She expects tough coursework. What she didn't expect was the bicyclist that struck her from behind.
It was very terrifying just seeing all this blood dripping down my hair and face and my shoes. I had a lot of blood in my shoes and everything, so I just didn't. It was scary. I was very worried about it.
The accident left Anderson hospitalized with a broken nose and a broken arm. She required 2 surgeries. It happened in front of Dye Hall, begging the question, are campus cyclists a hazard?
Walking bikes on campus is safe. DPS spokesperson Randy Young says the problem is that most students riding bikes through campus are in a hurry.
Despite the risk, Young says the Department of Public Safety doesn't get a lot of complaints about bike traffic.
If we receive a complaint, it's a priority for us. We act on any complaint. I don't think for the campus it's something that we see a lot of complaints from. I don't think folks rush over here to complain.
UNC student and bicyclist Quinn Carmine says sometimes pedestrians are the ones at fault.
I've gotten very close, but never hit anybody. What's annoying though is when people start like walking in front of you. I have like this entirely open bike lane and people just start inching over, and then that's when it gets real close because I just got to squeeze right by them.
Anderson disagrees. She says there's no need for a bike once you're on campus.
There's a reason why there's bike racks like sitting right next to me in Dye Hall, you know, because I understand like biking to campus, but I don't think it's necessary to have to use your bike in the quad when there's so many pedestrians walking around.
Anderson may be right, but right now there's nothing stopping bikers from whizzing by her on campus.
The Department of Public Safety asks that cyclists slow down and be cautious of pedestrians. A citation for reckless bike travel on campus is a $30 fine. By the way, bikes are prohibited from the sidewalks in downtown Chapel Hill.
Federal investigators from the U.S. Department of Education are on campus this week. They're looking into whether the university has underreported crime statistics related to rape and sexual assaults. Good evening, I'm Avery Harper.
And I'm Alex Giles. It'll probably be a while before we hear anything, but there are plenty of strong feelings on campus over this issue right now. Evidence, a front page, full page Daily Tar Heel editorial demanding change. Something pretty unusual in and of itself. I sat down with the opinion page editor to talk about the decision.
Nathan D'Ambrosio is a senior at UNC and a co-editor of the Daily Tar Heel opinion page. He says it was appropriate to run the editorial, a full-page editorial on the front page of the paper.
As a newspaper, since we've been covering this for so long, we had a very special position to speak from on it because we know a lot about it. And we also felt that we had a duty to sort of with the student body put forth in one of our own suggestions to enter that into the discussion as a whole.
UNC journalism professor Farrell Guillory was editor of his campus newspaper at Loyola University. He's also the former editorial page editor for the News and Observer in Raleigh. He says it's rare to see an editorial on the front page of a newspaper, but it happens.
There have been editors and publishers of major metropolitan newspapers that have used the front page to express an opinion on a major issue.
But did the Daily Tar Heel make the right decision to run its editorial on their front page?
What the Daily Tar Heel did, it seems to me, is within the parameters of professional journalism. It is a way of saying that this is really important and we feel strongly about it.
And D'Ambrosio says the paper does feel strongly about this sexual assault policy issue.
We have a criminal justice system built in to handle this sorts of thing. And the university should be able to provide support and counseling and advice, but it shouldn't be there to, try and achieve justice through punishment and adjudication.
D'Ambrosio says the paper stands behind its decision to run the editorial and has only received positive feedback so far.